I'm Paul Bonham from the Music Managers Forum. I'm the Professional Development Director. We're an organisation that advocates and supports and innovates with music managers. One of the things that we really focus on doing is always having evidence-based research around music industry issues. And over the past few years, we've done a lot of work on the digital streaming economies and the issues around there, really led by the artists and their managers' perspectives. And we work incredibly closely with the amazing man that is Chris Cooke, who leads the work. He's going to talk us through where we're at the moment in the work we've been doing about the song royalties side, so the publishing side of the streaming economy, and a manifesto which we have launched with Chris about the changes that we really want to see and the way in which we want people to engage with their information to make for a much more transparent and equitable music industry. So I'm going to say put your hands together, actually, for Mr. Chris Cooke.
Okay, so here's a challenge. I've now got 14 minutes, so let's see if we can do this. So yeah, I'm going to give you very quickly a little bit of background and context. So as Paul said, we've been working, as in we, my name's Chris Cooke, I run a company called CMU, and we've been working with the Music Managers Forum since 2015, trying to help managers and the artists and songwriters they manage navigate the streaming business. Now, I'm sure you're aware, the way streaming works has been a big talking point in the last couple of years with the whole economics of streaming inquiry that took place in the UK Parliament, which has now resulted in various government initiatives to address various issues around the way streaming works. Today, we're here to talk about one very specific issue, which is the way that song rights, as opposed to recording rights, are licensed, and the way that songwriters get paid. And the government, the UK government, I should say, has launched some working groups to deal with some specific issues. And one is around song data. Okay, so metadata and rights data around songs. And as part of that working group, the ministers and the officials from the government side posed the question, what would a well-functioning system for paying songwriters streaming income look like? And so this manifesto is the MMF's answer to that question. So we're not saying that this is a super well-thought-out strategy for how song royalties should be paid, but it is definitely a good guide to what a functioning, well-functioning system would look like, and a three-step plan for getting there. So before I get into what the manifesto says, I ought to very quickly explain how it currently works, because you need to understand how it currently works, or doesn't work, as the case may be, to understand why this manifesto has been written. So, in terms of the way that streaming works, if you're Spotify, you have two sets of relationships with the music industry. You do one set of licensing deals with the record industry, labels and distributors that get you access to recordings and permission to stream those recordings. But inside those recordings are songs. And as you probably know, songs and recordings, as far as copyright law is concerned, are two separate things. So if I'm Spotify and I do my deals with the labels and distributors, a load of music is uploaded to my server. And every single one of those tracks is a song. And I need a separate license for the song. And I need to pay separate royalties to whoever controls the rights in the song. So streaming services have two relationships. They have relationships with labels and distributors on the recording side, and collecting societies and music publishers on the song side. And what currently happens every month is this. So a label or a distributor uploads some music to Spotify, and then with the track, they provide a load of metadata, including the ISRC, the unique identifier for the recording, and who owns the recording. And then every month, Spotify then accounts to whichever label or distributor uploaded the music. They send back a report that says, okay, this is how often your music was streamed, this is the percentage of total listening you accounted for, this is the money you're due under your deal. So, quite straightforward. But in the side of the recording, there is a song. Spotify doesn't know what song is in each recording. It knows the name of the recording, but it doesn't actually know the song, because the name of the track might be Hello, Well, there are two very famous songs called Hello. We don't know which Hello it is, let alone who owns the copyright in the song Hello. So what currently happens is, every month, that Spotify and all the streaming services send to all of their licensing partners on the song side of the business, publishers and societies, a complete report of every single stream from the previous month, identified by ISRC, the unique identifier for recordings. And then each publisher and society has to go through that report, billions of lines of data, and basically say, one of ours, one of ours, one of ours, not ours, not ours, not ours, one of ours, one of ours, one of ours, not ours, not ours, all the way down the list. Remember, song copyrights are usually co-owned because of co-writing. So actually what they're saying is 62% ours, 33% ours, 22% ours. There's another complication that, for tedious reasons I won't go into, sometimes one entity licenses the so-called mechanical rights in songs and another entity licenses the so-called performing rights in songs. So what they might be saying is 62% ours, we only license the mechanical rights. And all of this is happening after the streams have taken place. Now, there are some problems with this. First of all, that takes quite a long time and it's an awful lot of work. So song royalties take months at best to get processed. Whereas, if the recording side is working, an artist could be paid within 2 months of streams. Whereas on the song side, best case, 6 months after stream, the songwriter's getting paid. Sometimes it takes 2 years. Also, there's an admin cost to doing all of that processing every single month. Also, some tracks never get identified, so we don't know what song is. And even if we do identify, sometimes we don't know who controls the copyright. So a big chunk of money, well, I say big, there's a debate about how big, but certainly a chunk of money every month, we don't know who to pay it to. And so we end up with what we call the digital black box. So this is the current system. So how could we have a better system? So as I say, following the economics of streaming debate, the UK government launched these working groups, which includes the data working group. And the question that the data working group was asked was, what would a well-functioning, oh look at that, it's all suddenly gone. What would a well-functioning song data system look like? And so the MMF team got together and said, okay, what should we be aiming for here? Let's assume that we can achieve anything. What would a well-functioning song data system look like? And so what we said was, right, well, songwriters should have the same services as artists. So if artists can be paid in 2 months, so your stream is on the 1st of January, you're paid by the 1st of March. If it's possible to do that for artists, we should make sure we can do that for songwriters too. Also, we should try and get to a point where the services like Spotify can calculate who needs to be paid, rather than the publishers and societies having to claim the money 2, 3, 4 months after the stream. So that it works basically exactly the same as on the recording side. So, if those are our objectives, what else? Well, could we get to a point where a song is only actually streamed if it has been 100% licensed? Under the current model, there's a whole load of music on Spotify that has not actually been licensed because we don't know what the songs are or who controls the rights. Currently, PRS in the UK has to provide what we call a mop-up license to cover all of the songs which are technically not licensed. And so any unlicensed works, we send PRS the money and PRS the data, and we say to PRS, you figure it out. But could we get to a point where we actually know before a track streams that the song has been properly 100% licensed and who we need to pay? So there's no gaps and there's no money at the end of the month that we don't know what to do with. So this is the ambition. These are ambitious objectives for all sorts of reasons. If you are an outsider coming to this cold, you might be forgiven for thinking, well, of course that's how it should work. Who would ever suggest anything else? But the current system is not set up to deliver what we've just described. And moving to a system that would is a big ask. However, we think it can be done. It will take years. It's not going to happen overnight. We're probably talking about at least a 5-year plan. But if we could do this, it would revolutionize how songwriters get paid. It would mean the songwriters would get paid faster. It would mean the songwriters would get paid more. It would mean that there would be no money ending up into a mysterious black box every month. But getting there, as it says here, will involve music publishers, collecting societies, record labels, distributors, and streaming services, not to mention songwriters, all stepping up their game. Which is why the MMF has published this manifesto, because every single person in the music ecosystem needs to be part of this debate, because everybody has something to do. So, let me very quickly, in just a few minutes, explain what the new system would look like. Under the new system, when a song was written, as soon as it was written, an ISWC, the unique identifier for the song, would be issued on the same day. At the moment, it can take weeks or months for an ISWC to be issued, because it is currently issued through the collective licensing system, through the societies, and there are various reasons why it can take a long time. Not only that, but songwriters would have to agree the splits of the co-ownership of the right on the day the song is written, or at least within a week, because we would not be allowed to release any recording of the song until the splits have been agreed. Currently, it can take weeks, months, sometimes years after a song has been written and released for those splits to be agreed. If we could get to the point where ISWCs and splits were being agreed immediately, then we could start saying to labels and distributors, not only do you provide an ISRC when you upload a track, now you've got to provide an ISWC too, and no ISWC, no stream. Okay, so it will now be a prerequisite that when you distribute music, an ISWC is part of the metadata. And then step 3, publishers and societies would then start providing a feed of all the works in which they have an interest, which is basically what labels and distributors do. Every label and distributor has a feed of all of their music. That feed also includes a load of WAV files and artwork files. The publishers and societies feed wouldn't have any WAV files, it wouldn't have any artwork, but basically all the metadata would be there. So Sony, Universal, Warner, BMG, Cobalt, Centric, Songtrust, the PRS would all have feeds that say, by ISWC, these are the works that we control. This is the percentage we control, and is it mechanical rights, is it performing rights, is it both? So these are the changes that we would need. So, these slides sort of talk through what I've just said, but we need a culture shift in the industry where ISWCs are issued and splits are agreed immediately because no music can be released without that happening. So now we have an unmovable deadline. Actually, it is the MMF membership who will end up having to rise to this challenge, because generally it's managers who are on the ground making sure this happens. For this to work, we have to bring the millions of DIY artists with us, so you would also have to be able to get ISWCs and log splits through the CD Babies, TuneCores, DistroKids of this world, otherwise it ain't gonna work. Then we can say to the labels and distributors, okay, there's now a public database of ISWCs. It's available as soon as a song is written. So I'm sorry, you've got an extra task. Every time you release a track, you now need to provide ISWC as well as all of the other metadata. Otherwise, your music isn't going to get streamed. Then we have these feeds being issued by, oh, look at that, by the publishers and societies. And basically, this would allow the song side to work like the recording side. So, recording gets uploaded, track is played. But before the track is played, the service is going to its licensing feeds from its publishers and its societies, and it's saying, have we got this song covered 100%? And if we don't stream. We send an alert back to the label and distributor and say, we can't stream this recording because we haven't got the song licensed. You need to go and sort that out. But where it is 100% licensed, then the track streams, and at the end of the month, rather than sending these billions of lines of data to all the publishers and societies, the streaming service can say, we know what songs were streamed, we know who owns those songs, we know you own 62% and you license the performing rights. So just like they do with labels and distributors, here's the report, here's the money, this is what you are due. If we could get to this system, it would be game-changing, because it would basically mean that the song side of the business would operate just like the recording side of the business. Now, to reiterate, it will take years to get here. We are asking societies to change the way they work, particularly when it comes to ISWCs. We're asking managers to rise to the challenge of making sure that splits are agreed when a song is written. We're asking labels and distributors to start inserting ISWCs into their metadata, and we're asking publishers and societies to have a super accurate, super transparent feed of all the rights that they control. Everybody has to do something. But if we could get there, and let's say it takes 5, 6, 7 years to do it, and obviously the whole thing about you can't stream without ISWC, you can't stream without 100% rights, I mean, that's not going to happen overnight. There would be a bedding in of several years before those rules would come into force. But if we can get to this destination, then songwriters will get paid, they'll get paid efficiently, and they will get paid rapidly. And basically, the song side of the business will be the same as the recording side of the business. So I think the MMF's position is twofold. If we're going to go on this journey, we need to know what the destination is. Yes, it's ambitious. Yes, it will take years to get there. But let's be clear what the end game is. And secondly, this requires the input and effort of everybody in the music community. So although the government has formed this data working group, and there's some incredibly clever people on that committee from the services and the publishers and the wider music industry, everybody needs to be involved in this debate, including the songwriters who are going to have to agree their splits. So that is why we have a written version of everything I've just said, which you can download from the MMF's website, and go and read it. And I guess the message is dissect it. If you are involved in all of this and you identify issues that we've not thought about, we want to know, okay? However negative and brutal your feedback is, we want to know. But crucially, everybody who's involved in the business of songwriting, join this debate, because we think we can reach this destination if everybody joins us on the journey. I'm over time, so I'm going to wrap it up there. But thank you for listening. Do download the manifesto. We can flip through to the final slide, which has the link. And yeah, so download a copy. Okay, we're going to skip through some diagrams, which I didn't have time to show you. There we go. So if you go to the digital dollar page on the MMF site, about halfway down the page, you'll find where you can download a copy of the manifesto. Read it, tell us what you think, and join the debate. Thank you for listening.